Hey, what's going on everybody? Welcome back to another YouTube video and welcome to episode 3 of my ultimate park build in Jurassic World Evolution 3. Now if you haven't seen the last two videos, I recommend you watch them before you watch this one, because there will be spoilers for what happened in the last few episodes. So it is finally time for me to build my first dinosaur enclosure in this park. 3 episodes in and we're only just building the first part of it. It is important to get that infrastructure down. The guest areas are also good to build. So I'm not too mad. And I am going to use custom fences for all of the enclosures in this park. I just think the game ones just don't do it for me. They all just look a bit boring. So I don't care if these like realistic or if you think a dinosaur could realistically break out of them, because an Allosaurus probably could break out of an enclosure like that. It's a massive dinosaur we're putting in here, so I had to make these fences look like they could withstand something, obviously, but I didn't want to just completely bin off making them look cool either. So, yeah, I use those kind of like metal poles to make up the wires for it, and then I duplicated that throughout the entire area, around the entire area. However, I did also make this little planter area on the front side of the fence, so I put some plants on that and then duplicated it around just so it wasn't too boring. And it also acted as a kind of barrier between the guests and the fence, just because I didn't want it. You don't want guests walking right up to a fence, obviously. I know they won't in the game, won't go through it, but like as I was saying in the previous episodes, I want to go for some level of realism in this park, so stuff like that is very important for me, at least to put in. And yeah, I was really happy with how this fence looked. And I still am now, actually. Sometimes when I look back on my builds, I think, oh, I could have done a lot better with that, but I'm really happy with how this habitat turned out. Fence looks really good. Yeah, I do put a slightly different design of fence into the back area along the lake, because obviously guests can't go around there, so I didn't really bother with the wire fence I put in here. So I just put a brick wall back there. It looks strong enough to hold them, so I don't mind. Something that really annoys me about this game is how guests can't see the dinosaurs through fences like this. They can't see dinosaurs through any fences. You have to have the viewing galleries in, which I don't mind putting in sometimes. Like, you can get good designs of them, but sometimes they just stick out like a sore thumb and they look so bad. For this habitat, I did put a viewing gallery in. Some of my later habitats, I don't put a viewing gallery in. I think I do for most of them, though. Yeah, this viewing gallery I decided to incorporate into my hatchery build, because this habitat is going to be one of the very few in this part which actually has a hatchery attached to it. The rest I'm just going to airlift the dinosaurs into. It's a whole lot easier, and the hatcheries are just so annoying to build for. Like, having all the trees just sticking out of the top is really difficult to build for. However, I am really happy with how this hatchery build turns out. I stuck with the same design as all the previous buildings, going for the brick and the wood. But yeah, I'm kind of surprised I managed to make it look as good as I did. Yeah, you'll see the finished product in a minute. Yeah. Having to have these modules in for the hatchery row is annoying. But at the same time, if you can do it well, then it does look really good. And as I said, it just gave me an excuse to fit the viewing gallery into it. For some of my later habitat builds, I do just stick the viewing gallery in a box, so if you actually look at the view from the viewing gallery, it's just looking at a wall, but it still counts as the guest being able to see it. So whilst I won't get a good view out of that, the guests can get a good view out of it, and it will attract the guests over. So that's the way I got around it sometimes. Sometimes I just didn't build viewing galleries. Although I think I do for most of them, actually. All the ones I've done so far have a viewing gallery to them. Yeah, what I did, you'll see what I'm doing now is I was making a wall on one side of the hatchery, and then I just duplicated that wall several times around all of the edges, and I'm quite happy with the result. I did have to make some changes because some of the sides are longer than others. It's not a perfect shape, but it still works out well in the end, so I can't really complain too much, to be honest. I use this kind of like fabric roofing at the top, which I honestly did not even know was a piece. Like, I've spent a lot of time building in this game, but there's still a lot of things I actually just haven't, a lot of pieces which I don't know about. So I'm still kind of learning stuff like that, but how you find, if you work with it. This hatchery build did take me quite a while to build. It's probably been the longest one the longest building, the longest time it's taken me to build anything in this park so far. Because it's quite big and the shape of it just made it really awkward to build. They're having to change things so often. But I'm happy with the end product, so I don't mind it. I could honestly just spend so long building parks in this game though. Like, it is just so relaxing for me, at least, to just spend hours building stuff. I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but for me at least, this is kind of just a game whenever I have like a free few minutes, I just hop onto this game and start building something. Really relaxing. I can spend hours on it. But yeah, after I had all the sides on, I had to kind of build in connections because there were gaps in between all the sides, so they were quite easy for me to build in. The most annoying thing about this was when I got round to the front area where the door was and having to build something to fit into that area. That was probably the most time-consuming bit. Not because it was so difficult as such, just because I went through so many different designs for it that I deleted a lot and then rebuilt it and then deleted it again and just went through that process a lot. But yeah, you'll see now it's all coming together well, and I think it looks good from up close, but I think the best view you'll get of it is when you first walk into the park and come down that hill. I think it looks really good from there, which is kind of what I was going for, so I'm happy with that. That is what I'm trying to do, to be honest, build stuff from the guest's perspective, as well as mine as the player. And which means just having these big spectacles which you guess will see and be attracted to. Whilst they won't care how a building looks in game, I do care about how a building looks, so I will spend a lot of time making sure every little thing looks perfect, just making sure the connections are finished. And yeah, I think that was pretty much this building, the hatchery, or at least this first half of the hatchery build done. There is still the second half, to be done, which shall I get started on now? Okay, that is the finished hatchery build. There is the other half to go with, but as you'll see here, that is the view I'm talking about. The view guests will see when they first enter the park. No, it looks like I won't be doing other hatchery build yet. Other brick wall I said about doing along the water's edge. It looks like that is what I'm working on now. I've finished off the other fences, making them go all the way around, and I've got them connected up to the hatchery build. Yeah, it was just this little bit along by the water now, which needed doing. I was tempted to make it so that they could actually access a little bit of the water, but I decided against doing that. Trust me, there will be other habitats later, which do fully lean into the lake areas I am going to have and the rivers that run throughout the park, but this was not one of them, I decided. Yeah, looking back on it, I'm thinking that this habitat, I should have made it a bit bigger. Because once the Allosaurus are in this habitat, they just dwarf everything. And yeah, I don't mind it though. They don't look awful in there. Like they fit in there. Don't get me wrong. And I've got comfort all turned off, so they won't care. They'll be happy with anything. But I do like building my habitats bigger than they actually need to be. Just to give the dinosaurs or the animals a bit more room to run around with and be free, just so they look a bit more comfortable in there. With this one, I'm kind of not entirely happy with the size of it, but yeah. Anyway, here we go. Here is what I was saying about the viewing gallery. I just had it connected up to the same building the hatchery was in. And this one I did have the glass sticking out. So I did have to go through a process of just connecting it up to the building and actually making it look somewhat nice. Which led to several reconstructions of the building and making it even larger than I had originally planned, which was fine, to be honest. It didn't get too much bigger. And I am happy with how the glass looks sticking out of there. Yeah, I think it looks quite nice. Anyway, that was the structure of a hatchery building done. As you can see, the same design as all my other buildings in the park. The blue brick and the wood up top, the brick pillars and the brick trims around the bottom, and then the wooden trims on the top. And then it was time for me to find the details. So I once again wanted to use these statues in this area. I did put these skeletons in by the hatchery actually, and then used the copper flat statues which I had used previously outside the viewing gallery part of the hatchery. I did also go back to these yellow banners just to keep the theme consistent from the other areas of the park, and then I put these all around the hatchery building. Just because it looks good. It was just looking a bit bland though, so stuff like this will help a lot with problems like that. Just adding in little things. I did use these hatchery signs, big, like blue ones, which I put around the hatchery building. Yeah, just to have these big walls. I didn't really want to just stick windows on them. I could have done, but I thought these signs would look quite nice. And then I wanted to decorate the roof as well, so I just put some air vents on the top of here. some solar panels as well, and the electrical boxes. That's something I really like about this game. Like, the backstage areas you can create are really good. You've got the air vents like that, the electrical boxes, these pipes as well look really cool. I put a few of them around here. Yeah, just to make it look a bit more industrial, and like, this is where the science happens. So I wanted to have stuff like that. Anyway, that is the completed hatchery and completed enclosure. So it was now time for me to incubate and release our 2 Allosaurus. I decided to go with 1 female and 1 male. You'll see I gave the male a bright blue colour and the female a lighter brown colour. I like having that. Like, the male being a more brighter colour. What happens? Anyway, I had yet to decorate the actual habitat for them, which is one of my favourite things about this game. The foliage and the rocks, my 2 favourite things. So yeah, I was really excited to do this for first habitat. I made a little lake for the Allosaurus, because obviously they'll need water. And then I painted the terrain in a bit rocky, a bit sandy. And then I use these tropical rocks, because they're a nice dark colour, and I use them throughout the rest of this park as well. You'll see them come back in later builds as well. So I made a couple blueprints of rock, and then I just copy and pasted them around the habitat. But yeah, the rock and the foliage, I just love doing that. That is, yeah. When I first got the game, that was one of the first things I looked at, what the foliage and the rocks would be like in this game, because I absolutely love using them, just spamming rocks everywhere. And then it was time for foliage, so similarly with the rocks, I made some blueprints of some bushes, some ferns, some other plants, and just copy and pasted them around the area. What I like doing with the plants is putting them around the rocks. I think it looks really nice, rather than just having random bushes everywhere. It kind of makes it look a lot more natural, kind of having the plants grow around the rocks. With this habitat, because of the size of the Allosaurus and how small I made the habitat, I didn't want to put in too many large bushes or trees, because it would kind of take up too much of the area and take away a lot from the Allosaurus, and it would just kind of hide them a bit, which in a bigger habitat I wouldn't mind doing, because you could have some open areas. However, because, as I said, I made this on a bit too small in my opinion, yeah, I couldn't really put in too many big trees, otherwise you wouldn't be able to see them at all. So I did also put in some dead trees in this area, just because of the size of these animals. I think it's realistic to say, like, they would damage these trees and they wouldn't all stay standing for too long. So having the broken down trees, the tree stumps, the tree trunks on the floor, it just adds a bit more detail and a bit of life into the habitat. Yeah, I used the same trees I had around the entirety of this park so far. The green, the red, the orange, all like that. And there we go, that was this habitat done and dusted with, and it is time to finally, 3 episodes in, release the Allosaurus into their habitat. Oh my god, they look so cool. The blue and the brown, it just looks really cool. I'm really happy with how this habitat has turned out. Yeah, here they are, just running around, exploring their habitat. I've also put a goat feeder in there, just so they have something to eat. Yeah, you can see the guests in the background in the viewing gallery as well. And it just all looks really cool. Yeah, I'm really happy with that. Allosaurus is just one of my favorite dinosaurs in the game. Okay guys, well that is going to be the end of today's video. I hope you have all enjoyed, and I would be glad for any name suggestions. I'm still yet to name these two guys, so yeah, if you have any ideas for names for my two Allosaurus, please let me know, and please let me know any ideas you have for the future of this part. I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next one. Goodbye.